views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
We've heard it time and time again that education is the key to success and that education starts at home. So stay with us today on Find Out on this program how one program has been working for parents for over 25 years, supporting them in their critical role as their child's first and most important teacher, as well as giving the child a clear and proven advantage to succeed in school. That's coming up on this edition of Perspectives with yours truly, Daren Jaime.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
What's on your mind? What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light. Cause it might make a difference in someone else's life.
Make a difference.
What's your perspective?
Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Perspectives. I am Daren Jaime, and of course, we are glad to have you sharing with us here today. Now, you can watch Perspectives every week on BronxNet's Channel 67. And if you want to stay more connected to us, yes, you can get to us on social media. Find out more on Twitter at BronxNet TV. And then also, you can also hit us up on Facebook at BronxNet Television, and that's also BronxNet Perspectives. Now listen, also, if you want, my personal professional page, Daren C. Jaime, there you can find out about some past episodes, some future episodes, and find out what the perspective actually is for the week. Well, the ultimate goal is helping parents prepare their children for success in school, even before they even start school. And joining us in the studio to tell us more about a unique program that's been around for 25 years is my good friend, the Developmental Director at BronxWorks, Mr. Ken Smalls. And yes, we have to admit that we've been knowing each other for years, man.
This is true.
It's been many years.
Too many, but we both do very good work.
Well,
that's why
we're in the land of
that's
living.
why
It's
we
never
keep
too
it
many.
up.
Yeah, so
That's
glad,
why we
glad
keep
to
it up.
have you. Yeah, we
Same
got to
here.
keep it up. So, a lot of programs at BronxWorks, but today we're going to talk about the HIPPY Program. And so, I want to introduce people to the HIPPY Program.
Right.
And what does it mean to be a hippie?
You know, I guess folks way back in the day used to think of people with long hair and folks who were nonconformists. But in this case, HIPPY stands for Home Instruction for Parents of Preschool Youngsters. It's a very innovative and creative early learning program that has actually been in existence since 1969. So there's a nearly 50-year history of HIPPY as a program literally across the world. It has its start in Israel, and since that time there have been HIPPY programs operating on every continent on the planet except Antarctica. And that's only because nobody lives permanently on Antarctica. But everywhere else on the planet, there's been at least one country in a continent where there's been a HIPPY program. And we've been very fortunate here in the United States because now here in the U.S., there are probably 20 or 22 states that have HIPPY programs. Arkansas is probably best known. If we go back to when Bill Clinton was governor of Arkansas, he and Hillary Clinton, as the first lady of the state, really made a big push to implement HIPPY programs in an effort to boost the education standing of Arkansas in comparison to the other 50 states. So it's got traction there. We've had a history of 25 years of HIPPY at BronxWorks. We're hoping to continue the program for another 25 years.
So if people don't know about HIPPY, obviously we've used the word, we talked about it. Give us a little bit about what people can expect in the HIPPY program.
Well, it's a program that really is very simple, and I say simple in the sense that its purpose is to get a parent who has a child who's 3, 4, or 5 years old to read to that child, to do exercises with that child, to work with that child so that the child can learn to read, can learn math concepts, can learn science concepts, and do it in the home setting and do it in a fashion where the child is having fun and the parent is having fun. So it brings the parent and the child together in the home setting.
Yeah, you have children and both parents involved in this. talk about impact, because obviously when you have children and parents working on the same accord, and that it does bring some fruitfulness.
Yeah, it's got long-term benefits as well as short-term benefits. And in the short run, I think one of the real obvious benefits is oftentimes parents don't really know how to engage their children. And I'm not saying this in a way so as to disparage parents, but you're young, you haven't learned certain things. What HIPPY does is it really gives parents tools that allow them to engage their children. And while the curriculum is a curriculum that lasts 30 weeks, what we found is a lot of parents will not only do it for the 30 weeks, but it becomes part of what they do with their children. So every day for anywhere from 20 minutes to half an hour, they spend time with their child, reading to that preschooler, doing the exercises with that preschooler, taking things that are in the house that you might not think of as being an educational tool, but because of the HIPPY curriculum, they've learned how to take those things that are in the house and how to incorporate them into the learning experience. So it's a fun experience for the child, it's an engaging experience for the parent, and when kindergarten rolls around, when the child is 5 or 6 years old, the child has a depth of knowledge that she or he otherwise would not have had.
And when we talk about time, you talked about a 30-week program. That's a huge investment for a parent to actually make, but yet and still, you're finding parents making that commitment and going full steam ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it seems in some ways as if it's a long commitment,
Yeah.
but what parents have said to us is the 30 minutes, 5 days a week, 6 days a week goes by really quickly. And again, while the curriculum itself is supposed to run 30 weeks, oftentimes after the 30-week period has expired, the parents are still doing exercises that stem from what they've learned as a result of the HIPPY experience. And it's one of those things that once you start doing it, it's kind of hard to stop.
So as far as the impact, what kind of impact do you feel like HIPPY is making in the Bronx community?
Well, BronxWorks has had a HIPPY program since 1992. And over the course of that 25-year period, we've engaged somewhere in the neighborhood of about 2,000 families and upwards of about 2,200 children between the ages of 3 and 5. We've done some studies of our HIPPY program. There's a national organization called HIPPY USA that has done some studies of HIPPY programs all across the country. What we found in terms of our HIPPY program is it's got some fairly immediate impacts in terms of parents being in a better position to engage and work with their children, children learning basic skills like reading, pre-math concepts, pre-science concepts, children learning how to develop their fine motor skills, their gross motor skills. What we've also found is, and in terms of the parents, is a parent who does the engagement activities from HIPPY with their child when the child is a preschooler, there's a tendency for that parent, as that child advances through the educational pipeline, to remain engaged. So the parent who does the exercises with the child when she or he is a preschooler, that's the parent that becomes an active PTA member. That's the parent that joins the school leadership team. That's the parent who continues to do homework with their child. And in terms of the child, the impact is not just being better prepared for kindergarten, but also having the ability to better focus, coming to kindergarten with some literacy skills, coming to kindergarten with some basic science concepts, coming to kindergarten with some basic math concepts, and understanding that education is a journey, but it's not necessarily a journey that's not without fun. I think what HIPPY does in the long run is it helps young people to learn that the education experience can be a fun experience.
We'll take a break and come back with more with Ken Small, talking about the HIPPY program at BronxWorks. Stay with us. We got more show coming up right after this.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. my human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
And welcome back to Perspectives. Daren Jaime here with you, and we're continuing our conversation with Ken Small as we're talking about the program HIPPY at BronxWorks, a program that has national and international impact. And right here at BronxWorks, parents as well as students are being, or I should say parents, students, young children are actually being engaged in the area of really engagement to the place that it's providing a real good foundation. And as we talked about that foundation, talk to us about that. What do you think parents are taking away out of the HIPPY experience?
I think probably one of the things that we oftentimes overlook in terms of parents is they look for activities like this, activities that can help them immediately in terms of their preschool child, as well as activities that can have some long-term value. And I think the real wonderful thing about HIPPY is the fact that, yes, it's wonderful when you're 3 years old, when you're 4 years old, when you're 5 years old, and it's wonderful for the parent because it allows the parent to develop some real proven tools in terms of how to engage that child. But what's also beneficial and what's also impactful is the fact that those benefits last for a long period of time. So it's not just when the child enters kindergarten that we see the benefits. The benefits are oftentimes seen as long as the child is in an educational system. So we've got cases where a child may have started out in the BronxWorks HIPPY program as a 3-year-old. That child stayed in school, elementary school, middle school, high school, then went on to college, then went on to graduate school, and is now in the workforce. So the young people who were in our HIPPY program, say 1992, 1993, those are now young people who are beginning the early stages of their career, and HIPPY was a solid foundation for them. What we've also found is a lot of the parents who participated in the program, oftentimes the parents came to us with limited literacy skills and not necessarily having a lot of confidence in their parenting skills. But what HIPPY did was, one, it motivated them to go back to school in many cases. And in other cases, it motivated parents to seek out other models that they could use to make themselves better parents.
Talk to us about Mayor de Blasio and his early learning initiatives. I mean, that with HIPPY.
The mayor, I think, has done an excellent job in terms of putting pre-kindergarten education on everybody's radar screen. And I think in terms of what the mayor has done, he's really made that a concern that's front and center. And he's not only made it a concern, but he's made some investments. So when he first became mayor, Mayor de Blasio rolled out universal pre-kindergarten services for all, meaning for all 4-year-olds. There had been UPK initiatives previously, but this mayor went out and decided that this was going to be something that was going to be available to all 4-year-old children in New York City. And I think that's historical. The mayor has now begun to pilot universal pre-kindergarten services for 3-year-old children. And here in the Bronx, I think it's Bronx Community School District 7, that is one of 2 school districts during this school year that will be piloting UPK for 3-year-olds. Our hope is that the mayor not only continues to look at UPK in a school setting or in a center-based setting, but also begins to look at UPK models like HIPPY, which can be done in the home and can complement whatever takes place at a child care center or in a school setting.
When you have a program like HIPPY, you talked about investments earlier, and funding is a major challenge sometimes for a program such as this. Talk about that and how's the program funded and where are things now?
Yeah, we were very fortunate when we started the HIPPY program in the Bronx. The program was introduced to us by the National Council of Jewish Women. There's a long history in terms of their work with institutionalizing this program across the world. They came to us along with the New York Community Trust. So in 1992, we got the model from the National Council of Jewish Women, we got the money from the New York Community Trust, and we were the organization here in the Bronx that was delivering the HIPPY model. And we focused back then oftentimes on families that were either previously homeless or families that had recently come out of the shelter system. Subsequently, in terms of the funding piece, we've done what we call blended funding. So we've got a little bit of discretionary money from some elected officials, we've gotten some foundation money from some foundations, and we've been very, very fortunate to continue to have a relationship with the National Council of Jewish Women where we get a lot of volunteer and in-kind support. The ladies who have been volunteers there who work with our HIPPY program, we call them our angels.
That's awesome. And when we talk about support, obviously you got support from community, you got support from, you know, elected officials in terms of making this program go.
And volunteers.
And volunteers. When you talk about those volunteers, talk about the level of volunteerism and what do you get out of those?
Well, the volunteers from the National Council of Jewish Women have always been very engaged in our program. And one of the things that we do is, in addition to having the activities that take place in the home, every year we'll do anywhere from about 8 to a dozen workshops that are designed to help parents with their parenting skills, workshops that are designed to help parents with the transition that children have going from the preschool experience, whether it's HIPPY or some other experience, into kindergarten. And what NCJW has done is they provided us with some resources. So they've helped us to create workshops. One of the things that we've frequently done with them is we've had health-oriented workshops. So a couple of years ago, for example, they worked with us to do a vaccine screening so that families that needed to get flu shots, they were able to facilitate that. Many years ago, I guess it was maybe the late 90s, the early 2000s, they brought in an artist who worked with families, who worked with children, and we ended up doing a HIPPY mural. And they also do things like clothing drives, toy drives. So every year, as we approach the winter holidays, we get a very nice donation from the volunteers at the National Council of Jewish Women.
Stay with us, got more with Ken Small. I'll talk about the HIPPY program at BronxWorks. We'll be back with more in just a few.
Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant. Behold the angry giant.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
we're back here continuing our conversation with Ken Small as we're talking about the HIPPY program and a lot of great things happening for you guys as well. So, I know you got an event coming up too.
Well, we're going to be celebrating 25 years of HIPPY at BronxWorks and the partnership that we've had with the National Council of Jewish Women on Wednesday, October 25th. It's an event that's going to be taking place at the national headquarters of their organization down in Manhattan at 475 Riverside Drive. We'll be bringing back some of the folks who helped get the program started, some of the folks from NCJW, some of the people from BronxWorks, and hopefully we'll be able to attract some of the folks who were involved with supporting the program from a funding standpoint as well. So it should be a very good experience, a very nice experience. And we're also keeping our fingers crossed that perhaps some of the folks who were originally enrolled in the program, either as parents or as students, that we'll be able to have them come as well.
You tapped into my next question. You must be like the special power here, because I was talking about the alumni and
Yeah.
what part the alumni plays actually in helping those who are actually going through the program.
Well, we've had some interesting experiences with both young people who went through the program as well as some of the parents who participated. So, for example, we have a parent who started out literally 25 years ago, didn't speak English very well, had limited formal education. That parent came to the BronxWorks HIPPY program, was a parent who participated in it, eventually became a parent educator, and subsequently went on to take some adult ed classes to develop English language proficiency. That parent has now, or is now, I should say, an assistant principal with the New York City Department of Education. We've had young people who participated in the HIPPY program who are now college graduates who are beginning to launch their careers. And we have some of the young people that may have come out of the program, say, in the early 2000s, who are now in high school or just beginning college.
We were just showing a few pictures right there. I was wishing we could just go back a quick second and just throw the pictures back up. I just wanted Ken to give me an opportunity to take a look and see, maybe tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here.
This is a picture at one of the workshops. It was an interactive workshop that involved parents, children, and technology.
Okay. And I don't know if we switch up.
This is actually one of the HIPPY graduation ceremonies, and usually in the late spring, the early summer, we have a graduation ceremony, and instead of doing caps and gowns, we encourage the young people to wear the traditional garb of the countries from which their families come. And those two young people were from Mexico. And this is just another demonstration of the graduation ceremony, the children dressed up in various costumes.
That's awesome.
This is the year-end event that we do in terms of our HIPPY program. And we have one of our staff persons, Assistant Executive Director John Weed, dressed up as Santa Claus with two of the children enrolled in the HIPPY program.
And so 25 years is the celebration now.
25 years is the celebration, October 25th, this coming Wednesday. And we will also be having a multicultural feast a few weeks after that on November 17th at our Carolyn McLaughlin Community Center at 1130 Grand Concourse.
Now, for people who want more information about HIPPY, what do they do?
They can call the BronxWorks office at area code 646-393-4002.
All righty. Well, Ken Small is wrapping up here with us. Talk about the HIPPY program here at BronxWorks. And yeah, it's an exciting program. And for parents and who may have children, what do? They can contact us at that number, or they can email me at ksmall@bronxworks.org. All right, Ken Small back with us here from BronxWorks, bringing us all the information that we need to know about the HIPPY program. So I want to let you know now, there's plenty of programs over at BronxWorks that you can tap yourself into, things for the seniors, young people, technology, you name it, BronxWorks has it. And so that's my shameless plug to tell people, get connected to BronxWorks to find out more of the activities and the services that are provided for our Bronx community. A valuable resource if you don't know about it. You got to know all about BronxWorks. Did I do justice?
You did a lot of justice.
All
Thank you
right,
very
good.
much.
That means you got to come back then. All right.
I'll be back.
All right, that's it. Ken Small, our guest today. We thank him for joining and sharing with us. As always, I encourage people to really take the time to find out. There are a lot of valuable resources that we do have in our communities. You just have to also make the extra effort sometimes of making a phone call or really taking a look and seeing, because you don't have to think that you're out there by yourself. There's a lot of people and a lot of things that could actually help you in the area that you may think that you're most challenged in. And here in a situation like the HIPPY Program, something that can actually help to advance young people as well as parents as well. And so we invite you to get connected with them. Unfortunately, that's all that we have time for today here on Perspectives. I'm Daren Jaime, thanking you for joining us, and until the next time we meet, stay safe, share your perspective with somebody else. You never know, it just might make a difference in somebody else's life. Take care, and God bless.
Entertainment, he rocks it. Politics, he locks it. The host with the most would handle any topic. Don't forget to share your perspective with shines of light, cause it might make a difference in someone else's life.
Make a difference.
What's your perspective?
Express what's in your heart and your mind. Share your perspective.
What's your perspective? Let them know.
What's on your mind?
Let 'em know.
Express what's on your mind. What's on your mind?
Let 'em know. Anything relevant to life, you bring it to the table. Whether you make a move solo or a movement with a stable. No fables, you speak on your decisions. Cause in the long run, it's your voice, your views, your vision. Keeping it real with many messages for you to know. This ain't radio, but DJ runs the show. Entertainment, he rocks it.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive